Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. Okay guys, before we get into the daily doom and gloom, for which there is much of today, probably more than usual, which is saying a lot for this channel for the last 6 months, I know. I need you to make sure that you are enjoying every day to the fullest. Enjoy this period of relative peace and stability. I know that's saying a lot, it's probably being a little too optimistic, but enjoy it while it lasts. Enjoy the summer, make sure you're out there in the beach, you're soaking in the sun, if you got a beach. If you're in the urban jungle, then I guess go to the nearest park or something, but just try to get out there into nature. Enjoy it while it lasts. We are blessed here so far this year. This is the first year in a long time that I can remember that we don't have forest fire smoke by this time this year, but that train is never late. So it's probably inbound because we're definitely still in a period of drought where we currently are. So it's only a matter of time. Now, as you can see, we got our new employee here at Canadian Preparedness. We're going to call him Lenny the LARPer for now. If you guys can think of a better name, post it in the comments section below and we will send you a prize off the war wall, whoever wins that contest. Lenny the LARPer is sporting the Coyote fur mitts with the sheepskin liner. He's got the level 4 bulletproof vest, or the plate carrier, I should say, with Condor plate carrier. We got the Italian-made SGE 400 BB, that stands for butyl rubber gas mask. Unfortunately, there's a shortage of butyl rubber right now, so can't get those. We can still get the Mira CM6M masks. We got the Coyote hat with the leather top. We got the Van Quest Marcor 45 backpack, the bulletproof t-shirt, the LA Police Care pants. Lenny is LARPing and he is ready to go. I have a feeling he's going to get rolled when it all hits the fan, but hey, that's what he's for. Maybe we'll fill him full of holes. Maybe we will actually test out this body armor on Lenny. That's a good idea. I wonder if the owner would care if we were shooting things up in here. I wonder if that would void our lease or violate our leasing agreement. It probably would. Okay, so let's talk about the news. Let's get serious here, guys, because it's not looking good. We have JP Morgan, we have, who's the other one? Goldman Sachs, and we also have some trading commodity firms saying that the price of oil going to $150 a barrel is highly likely. Okay, it's highly likely that we are going to see $150 a barrel oil, which of course will mean that the price of gas is going to go parabolic. The price of diesel is going to go parabolic. It's already parabolic because of this whole refinement bottleneck. We've talked about that in previous videos. Basically, they can't refine the stuff fast enough because of that whole bullwhip effect with the supply chain. Obviously, the war is putting constraints on the ability to get oil, and this embargo that our genius leaders have decided to put on Russia at this point in time. And I know there's got to be something. They got to do something, because I get it, the whole geopolitical, I understand that. But we also have to prioritize things, right? Because if the price of gasoline gets too much higher, people are going to start rioting in the streets. We're going to see civil unrest. We're going to see more and more conflict. That's what we are going to see. Now, I have some predictions for you guys. One of the predictions is related to a big story that we're going to talk about today that's barely getting any media attention whatsoever. And you need to pay attention to it. Now, I don't know if I'm sure that these bankers, they are thinking above and beyond the media headlines. They must have analysts that do deep dives and that really know what's going on above and beyond both Western and Eastern propaganda. They must. So this must be somewhat factoring into their oil calculus, but I'm not entirely sure. Because if it isn't, then we're in big, big trouble. There's a situation going on in Iran right now that is not receiving a whole lot of media attention at all. And I think that it could potentially have very, very dire consequences depending on what the outcome is. All at once, we're seeing conflict flare up around the world. This typically happens when you have resource scarcity, when you have high prices. You're going to start to see more conflict around the world as people war for less and less resources, okay? We're seeing it in the Korean Peninsula, we're seeing it in China, Southeast Asia, we're seeing it, of course, in Europe, we're seeing it now in Syria, between Turkey and Syria, we're seeing it in the Middle East as well. And my prediction I made a passing comment yesterday about, we're one Franz Ferdinand moment away from a major escalation in the war. Franz Ferdinand was the Archduke of Austria who was taken out in Sarajevo, I believe it was 1914. That triggered World War I, essentially, okay? I think we're one assassination of a very high-profile member of one of these countries that's involved in this current conflict, be it Ukraine, Russia, United States, wherever the case might be, from this thing escalating to the next level, going from worse to even worser, okay? I know that's not a word, but I have a feeling that something like that is bound to happen, because this is what's happening. You're having all of this anger and hostility towards various ambassadors, diplomats, leaders around the world, but they're still traveling around the world in these countries where they're not liked. It's only a matter of time before a serious incident happens and a high-profile member, probably of Russia, gets taken out, and that triggers some bad stuff to happen. Now, let's get to the Iranian situation. If you've been paying attention to this channel, you know that the Israelis are very concerned about Iran developing nukes. This is why the Iranians have these deep underground military bunkers that they're putting all of their military supplies in, stockpiling it for World War III, apparently. I say apparently because why else would you do that? Obviously, they know that eventually this conflict is going to come. Now, there's some big news today from the International Atomic Energy Agency that Iran has shut down the nuclear watchdog's cameras. So I don't know a whole bunch about this, but the IAEA is this agency who monitors the progress and the refinement of or the enrichment of Iranian nuclear materials to make sure that they're not enriching it to the point where they could essentially build a bomb with it, okay? Even though they're not in this nuclear deal anymore with the US and France and the UK. Even though they're not in that deal, there's no deal right now. I think Trump got out of the deal, what was it, in 2016 or something like that. And they're still trying to work with the IAEA. Supposedly, according to them, they're trying to work with them to ensure that, hey, we're not enriching this nuclear material, so they say, beyond a certain extent, because, of course, they don't want the Israelis who've been training to take out Iranian nuclear facilities. They just had an exercise called Chariots of Fire where they simulate an attack on the Iranian nuclear facilities. They don't want to basically have Israel attack them, and then they're going to be forced to do something back, or they're going to have to respond in some way, shape, or form, and that could escalate into a major regional conflict. Of course, Israel apparently has nukes. They have that whole policy of strategic ambiguity. They don't know. We don't know if they have nukes, but everybody knows they have nukes type thing. And the situation there could go sour real quick, and not enough attention is being paid to this issue. And I'm thinking the reason why is because the powers that be, for lack of a better term, know that they don't want to rattle that hornet's nest too much, because it would create, you would see the price of oil, never mind parabolic. I mean, it's going off the charts if there is a war that breaks out between the Israelis and the Iranians. It's going through the roof. I mean, the global economy collapses if that happens, because they control, 20% of the world's oil that comes from the Strait of Hormuz. You factor into that what's going on in Russia with the current oil embargo there, you see global economic collapse like you've never seen before. So it's concerning that they've now shut down these nuclear watchdog cameras, because we've seen the assassination of high-profile generals in Iran by the Israelis. The Israelis have taken credit for that. The military generals in Iran have been doing some pretty intense, aggressive saber-rattling and rhetoric that they're throwing around, talking about, the usual stuff about wiping Israel off the map and all that. So the situation is getting real hot and bothered there, and nobody's talking about it. The Iranians are saying that They are trying to comply out of goodwill because there is no deal. They're saying that, hey, we're still complying with you guys, but you're not really, I don't know, giving us any respect. Okay, I get no respect. That's what Iran is saying right now to the International Atomic Energy Agency. Anyways, they shut off the cameras, and that means that there's no guarantee that they're not enriching that uranium to the point where it would be used in a nuclear weapon. I don't know how, I don't know a whole lot about geopolitics. I don't know how the allegiance or alliance between Russia and Iran works. You would think that Russia would have given the Iranians nukes long ago if that bond was as strong as a lot of people try to say it is. The fact that they haven't could be for a variety of reasons. Obviously, Russia plays a pretty critical role in this Iranian nuclear deal. But now that Russia has been somewhat alienated, and you could say they did it to themselves or whatever, now that they've been ostracized from the rest of the world, what's to stop them from just saying, here, have some nukes, and of course, then we get ourselves into a very, very precarious situation. Now, all I can say is it's something worth keeping an eye on because the situation appears to be spiraling out of control. And there's not enough attention being paid to it at all. In other news, where to start? Okay, how much time do we got left? We only got 5 minutes, so let's blaze right through this. Ukraine has set some conditions for resuming grain exports. The port of Odessa, which is basically, other than Odessa, that's the only access Ukraine has to the sea right now, the Black Sea, where all the grain goes through, okay? It has been mined, likely by the Ukrainians, because they don't want, the Russians coming in with their warships, so they need some kind of protection. So they're saying, hey, look, even though we didn't mine the place, and it's Russia's fault that it's mined, we need some security guarantees. We need you to guarantee that if we remove these mines, or if we allow you to remove these mines, you're not going to use it to invade Odessa. So you can understand why they don't want to do this on the one hand, because of course it puts them in a very precarious situation where they're going to be highly vulnerable, even more vulnerable to attack. Now, a lot of people are saying that a lot of people who are smarter than me, military analysts, who are really in the know, not the paid ones that you see on the legacy media, or the ones who are deep still in the pockets of the deep state, they're saying that there's a good chance that Russia is going to try to take Odessa. So this is why I think the Ukrainian leadership is very concerned. They're saying that they're willing to resume grain exports if they get security guarantees. Turkey has come in and said, hey, we'll help you guys out. We'll help mediate this issue. We will help you get rid of the mines. We'll escort the ships out of the Black Sea into neutral waters, from which Russia can then assist in the exportation of this stuff. And what more to say about it? It seems like there's progress being made in those talks, but it also seemed like there was progress being made in the peace talks in Turkey, in Istanbul, months ago, and nothing came out of that. So I want to be optimistic and say hopefully they can resolve this issue, and hopefully they can get that food to where it needs to go. And there's a good chance, okay, I'm just going to say there's a good chance that they might have some kind of deal, but at the same time, based on the history of this limited conflict, I think there's a better chance that we're not going to see any resolution, and that the situation is just going to escalate, and then you're gonna have fighting in Odessa, which will completely landlock Ukraine, and so they're going to have to find a way to route the food around, either through Belarus, or maybe the Russians will steal the grain, okay, and then export it through their ports in Crimea or something like that. I'm not sure, or Mariupol, or whatever the case. But yeah, I'm not very optimistic. Apparently the Russians, this is based on credible information from military experts, that the Russians are now using their big stuff, their big guns. The Su-57 That's their latest and greatest, kind of their highest end plane, which is, I guess, supposed to compete with the F-22 or the F-30 or the F-35, I guess. Has apparently been bombing Kiev. And there's some videos that I can't show on here that show guided missiles. You know, the shot with the missile that has the camera on it and it goes right into the target and explodes itself? Yeah, there's some pretty credible evidence that shows a KH-F59 Mk2 missile coming from an Su-57 fighter. So they're starting to use the good stuff, which is probably an indication that they're not as concerned about the Ukrainian missile defense systems. Oh shit, I only have 20 seconds left. A Russian ambassador to the US claimed that he was encouraged to defect. I don't know how true that is, but it doesn't bode well for diplomatic relations between US and Russia, which are just dangling by threads. Guys, Lenny, the LARPer, take care out there. Thanks for watching. Canadian Prepper out.